Welcome everybody to the live stream to Robot Rampage week number 8. Hello, how is everybody doing? Justin, Blake, Gigabytes, Razor259, Burnout, everybody in the chat, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, big news this week. Doesn't have to do a Robot Rampage League. The big news is BattleBots has officially announced their air date. December 3rd on Discovery Channel for US viewers. Everybody else is going to have to pirate it because of course they are. I'm excited about that. We'll get to run Robot Rampage League and alongside BattleBots basically for a couple of months probably. Robot Rampage and BattleBots has been a good year. It's been a very terrible year, but it's ending on a slightly better note. So, as far as Robot Rampage League goes, let's take a look at the results from last week. So, two of the big things to notice here. We had the Orlando Commandos shut out Valley View for 11 points. They moved up quite a bit in the standings, and I believe... Where's Meta? Meta's win over Sinister, the number 1 team. They didn't move up in the standings, but they closed the gap a lot in their division. And so what we have is 5 teams within 2 points of each other in Division 2. It is just absolutely crazy the amount of, or how close and how good Division 2 is. Like, the entirety of Division 1 fits between 5th and 6th in Division 2 in points. It's crazy. Welcome, American Killjoy. Glad you made it this week. Your team is no longer going to shut out other teams because you're here now. That's how that works. Standings are insane. Absolutely, the standings are insane. They're going to get more insane as things go on, I feel. We still have 3 undefeated robots as well in the league that are 7-0. So let's see what is going to happen this week as we get our first match started. Any 8-0 bots after this week? There are some that have a chance. First, we have teams 15 and 16, Stormlab and Team Smash. Division 2 OP. Yeah, Division 2 is really good this year. So we've got Firestarter, the asymmetric horizontal spinner, against Bubblegum, which is the fast Scoopy Ram bot. Neither of these robots are invertible. But I think Firestarter's got the better record on the season so far. Leave your predictions for our first fight in the chat while I get this written down in my notes. I think Explicit Equation will still be undefeated after this. Explicit Equation's the only robot that has gotten all knockouts and is undefeated. It's really good. Traditional rules for Stormlab. Do something once and call it a tradition. Fair. Let's see what Firestarter can do here with Bubblegum. Ooh, Firestarter's got that wide reach with that long asymmetric bar. It's getting around to the side and behind Bubblegum. Good chance of getting one of Bubblegum's wheels off. Although Bubblegum's gotten a great push, and it's knocked itself over running into the wall. Oh, but the wedge broke the bar off of Firestarter, who's now totally unbalanced and managed to right Bubblegum in the process. So as long as Firestarter keeps that half bar spinning, it should be able to eventually right itself. There it goes. Can still do damage to Bubblegum, but Bubblegum is completely in control of this fight now. It's going to be really difficult for Firestarter to make use of that sledgehammer counterbalance. It can still do damage with it. It's just throwing itself all over the place, and it's really short. It's difficult to get in there. It managed to break one of the spikes off the front of Bubblegum, though. And, of course, Bubblegum's got no choice but to keep attacking it because Firestarter can self-right with that. Halfway through the fight. Firestarter's pulling a mauler. Oh, 2 of the spikes now off of Bubblegum. So the upper 2 spikes off of the wedge. Oh, great escape there from Bubblegum to get away from Firestarter. And then puts it right back on its back. I think what Bubblegum really needs here is to make use of the arena hazards, and it's not able to do much with Firestarter because it keeps just wobbling away from it. Firestarter's starting to take a lot of damage from those remaining spikes. Oh, and it's going to keep breaking more of them off. So Firestarter's still dangerous. And Bubblegum's lost all of its spikes now. And is completely uncontrollable trying to drive upside down. Well, I think we're going to go to the judges on our first fight here. And that is official. Judge's decision. Not really what either team wanted. They wanted some points, and they're not gonna. There's only 1 point available out of a judge's decision. So both teams, Team Smash has kind of fallen down in the standings a little bit, and Stormlab's always been near the bottom of the standings. So both teams really wanted some points out of that, and they're not going to get it. But up next, we've got 2 of the fastest and most powerfully driven middleweights. Sludge, the Rammer, Planetary Conqueror with the overhead spinning bars, but it's also got a ton of drive power. Leave your predictions. Firestarter did more damage, but Bubblegum was mostly in control. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight for the judges to decide. It's one of those decisions that comes down to, does damage or control be weighted more in the decision? Burnout calling for a Sludge Fest. Well, Planetary Conqueror does have a wedge, but it's got a bar over the top of it, so... Why did you call your team in real life Heavy Metal Robotics? Because my brother and I both absolutely love metal music, and there's not a team called Heavy Metal, so I figured it would work out for us. Our whole team uniform, if we go to events, is just going to be to wear band t-shirts. Let's see what we have here. Sludge stays in the ring, and Planetary Conqueror is going to lop a wheel off for its troubles. So that's going to mean Sludge is pretty much unable to drive in a straight line, but it is getting those spikes into Planetary Conqueror's wedge and doing damage to it. Although Planetary Conqueror is going to take all of Sludge's wheels, all of its spikes right off. So, oh, and it's gotten enough hits on the chassis to hit the control board now. That's going to be a KO in 32 seconds. Well, that was pretty decisive. Team Smash did start out the league as one of the top teams, so it's not entirely surprising to see them taking it to Stormlab here. So that's definitely 3 points and the lead to the Team Smash at the moment. So next in the heavyweights is Microburst, 6 piston poking spikes. Bioshocker for Team Smash is a double vertical spinner. I think Bioshocker's only got 1 or 2 losses on the season. It's been doing pretty well so far. What is Planetary Conqueror's win-loss record? Don't understand how it's lost matches. I think it's lost a couple. Don't remember which ones. I would write it all down, except it's just too much data to write down. And I can't be tabbing back and forth to the spreadsheet because the game gets very unstable when you tab out. Lots of people going for Bioshocker for this one. Neither robot invertible, I don't think. Bioshocker does have those defensive spikes along the corners, but Microburst going straight through the center. Lots of spikes coming off. I think most of them coming off of Microburst, and now it's been flipped over by Bioshocker, who's gotten high-centered on those spikes, which is great driving. And he's going to turn Microburst back upright. And Microburst is going to start knocking defensive spikes off the front of Bioshocker here, but it's down to, I think, just a single... Nope, it's down to no spikes on its pistons now, so... Microburst getting absolutely torn up here by Bioshocker's vertical spinner. All of its spikes are gone off of the front now. So Bioshocker just tearing into the front of it. Control board hits. And I think we're going to get a KO here. Microburst just trying to hold out as long as it can. Oh, they have to break a count. Still no KO. There it is. 81 seconds, I believe. Big win for Bioshocker. A lot of damage caused. A lot of damage caused by both robots. It's like 19,000 points of damage total. So that's another 3 points. Team Smash has effectively won the match. 6 points to Stormlab has a maximum of 1 at the moment. So there's only 3 more points left for a knockout in the Super Heavies. So Stormlab going in with Uragano, one of the biggest hitting Super Heavyweights. And Team Smash going in with id, also one of the biggest hitting super heavyweights. Who do we predict for Uragano versus id? Uragano with a double vertical hammer spinner, and id has a 4 piston mounted racks of spikes that poke out. I see Coleslaw and the Baron Goat in the chat saying cat update. I don't have a cat. But you could give us a cat update if you want. Who controls the robots, says Kai. It's all AI driven by the game. There's no persons controlling the robots. Lots of people leaning towards... Actually, a lot of people going back and forth between Uragano and id. Should get a cat. I would like a cat. We just have a small dog. Although we joke that he thinks he's a cat. Well, I think id has the better win-loss record on the season, or at least more points on the season. So we'll see what Uragano's got for it. Id is trying to get those spikes into the chassis of Uragano, but it's managed to... I think the torque from the motors pulled Uragano right over. It's gotten back upright, but id is absolutely ripping hammers and a whole weapon off of Uragano. It's totally taken its weapon apart now. So Uragano just a chassis wedge at the moment, which helped out against Heart Attack, which is a rammer, but not against id. So that is a KO in, I believe that was 34 seconds. Damn, both of these robots are 10,000 points of damage. Very similar damage totals, but it turned out very differently for both of them. Id is vicious. It is correct. So that is a 9-point victory to Team Smash. They have 9 points that we know of. If they win the judges' decision, it's 10-0. If they lose, then it's 9-1. So, like, Storm's gonna hope they can get that judge's decision to just get 1 point out. But Very convincing win otherwise. Looking forward to cheering on Pink Chaos this week because they're from the UK. Yes, Pink Chaos represents Brighton in the UK. I think Pink Chaos is facing a Heavy Metal Robotics, which is another one of the teams. I love both of those teams, and I wish they wouldn't fight because I want both of them to win. But our next match, we have the Robot Rebels representing Detroit and Hive Academy representing Jump City, California, I believe. The Rebels have Overclock, a sort of wedge-shaped piston spike poker. Hive has Jinx, which is a side-hinged flipper. So leave your predictions in the chat here. Who are the judges? We have myself and my brother, and then a couple of other people that are helping out behind the scenes that are used to judging Robot Arena 2 stuff. So only 2 judges are needed for a judge's decision. We have extras in case people are not available. Oh shit, it's Owain. Yes, it is Owain. Owain is a cool dude. I'm glad he's here. Lots of people going with Overclock. Few going for Jinx. Let's see if Jinx has what it takes to take out Overclock here. Overclock is invertible, so being upside down is not going to hurt it too bad. Done a little bit of damage to Jinx, but Jinx has it upside down. Is just kind of holding it in place at the moment. Overclock really struggling to drive upside down, actually. Who are the bot builders, says Kai. Myself and my brother built every single team except for the Mantines, which were built by a friend of ours. Next season, for Season 2, we're going to open it up to anybody that wants to submit a team. So Overclock trying to get at Jinx's wheel. Jinx trying to get back under Overclock's chassis with its wedge. And not really able to do so at the moment. Owain with the $2 or the £2 super chat. Thank you, Owain. I appreciate it. YouTube is pretty much my only source of income at the moment, so that's very much appreciated in helping me keep the lights on here. Jinx has taken a lot of damage from Overclock and has smoke coming out of it now. It's trying to use that taller side to get under it, which isn't helping so much, but it is under Overclock now. Had a chance to push it into the grinder, but didn't. And now they're just going to kind of lock up their weapons here. Can't wait for Season 2. Me and my brother have a similarly sized army to you. Yeah, Season 2 should be good. I'm looking forward to seeing all the different styles of robots people build as Overclock loses half of its weapon. It's got control board hits on Jinx now, though. There's still a little over a minute left in the fight, so Jinx has a long way to hold out here. Jinx trying to lop the rest of that weapon off. They're just locking together once again. What did everyone think of the new BattleBots trailer? It was definitely a trailer, that's for sure. These two are really locked together. If this was BattleBots, they would have stopped the fight and separated them. Oh, Wayne, that's kind of funny and cute. I appreciate it. Well, 15 seconds until a judge's decision here. Fair amount of damage caused by both robots, but I think the damage caused by Overclock has been more significant here. So, once again, the judges are going to be called into play. 2 judges' decisions early. Is that an Ed Netty team that you're making, Justin? I love that to death. I really do. Ed Netty's probably my favorite cartoon show of all time. It's between that and Futurama. So our second fight, going in the middleweights, is Dramatic, a vertical spinner that's vaguely drum-shaped, and Gizmo, which is similar to Sledge. It's an overly way too fast rammer with a bunch of spikes on the front that is invertible. What are your predictions for Dramatic and Gizmo? Been years since you played, but got back into it after watching the shows. Yeah, stock Robot Arena 2 doesn't get played much, but it can be pretty fun when you get the right, rule set and robot builds together. Have a multi-bot called Gravy and Buttered Toast. Surprising, people are split on this one. Gizmo and Dramatic. Gotta go with Gizmo, because Owain watched Gremlins yesterday. Can't argue with that logic. Let's see what turns out, what the result of this fight is. Gizmo going straight for that drum motor to start off with, but Dramatic getting underneath Gizmo and trying to attack the chassis armor. Going for the wheels as well. Gizmo not able to get through and get that drum motor off just yet. It is doing a lot of damage to it, however. It slammed Dramatic way back into the wall. Oh, there goes the drum. And as is common with Robot Arena 2, when a moving object like a piston or a motor comes off, it causes physics engine problems. So we get to restart. This time Gizmo gets a great hit on the drum motor to start off with. Dramatic kind of easing its way over there as Gizmo isn't sure what to do. Still just slamming itself into that drum. Backing itself into the wall. There goes the drum, and there goes Gizmo. Another restart. The official... Oh, Gizmo, what did you just do? Did you just trip over the floor? And then drive over Dramatic's drum. The official rule for restarts is that we will restart the fight in the event of a physics engine problem, and if it affects the fight, which that one didn't really affect the outcome of the fight or the robots, so we're going to let it run. And if we have to restart a fight 10 times, then we just move on to the next fight and we finish the restarting fight off stream. Gizmo's thrown itself onto the grinder and lost a wheel, which is going to be really difficult to drive with, but it's got Dramatic into the grinder now. It's got control board hits on it. So Dramatic is badly limping here. Gizmo got thrown across the ring by the physics problem, though. When a motor breaks off in the game, it leaves like a mine, a little hitbox in the floor, and it just randomly applies force when robots drive over it. So that's why it can be fine as long as the robots get away from the spot the motor came off, but as soon as they go back over there, they can be flung around again. This one, Dramatic, I was about to say not taking as much damage to the drum this time, but a lot of smoke coming out of that motor now. It keeps going for Gizmo's wheels, which is its best strategy. Gizmo got thrown back a little bit, but they're away from that spot on the floor, so I'm going to let him keep fighting. Gizmo going to slam Dramatic into the wall once again. And then itself, because that's how Gizmo works. Another big hit to Dramatic's front end. Oh, going for the wheel, too. Gizmo is out for blood this fight. And then it's going to throw itself on its nose, because that's what Gizmo does. Wish they'd get away from that spot on the floor. Now they have. Gizmo's lost a wheel. Just throwing itself into Dramatic's front end spikes. It's lost 2 wheels. So Dramatic is starting to make a little bit of a comeback here despite all the damage it's taking. Those defensive stabilizing spikes on the front are definitely helping it out here. Oh, and Dramatic with an attack to the side of Gizmo. He's coming back despite losing his weapon early. We still have a minute and 20 seconds to go. Gizmo's got Dramatic into the grinder, but Dramatic has a wheel guard there to avoid taking too much damage. Spikes coming off of Gizmo. Ooh, big hit from Gizmo. Still trying to get the chassis of Dramatic so it can get a KO. It's got control board hits on it now. Going for the wheel again. Dramatic looked like it was coming back for a while, but Gizmo's got him pushed up against the grinder. Oh, and a big hit to end the fight. That was a really, really gutsy fight from both of them. Took a couple of tries, but we got a really good fight out of those two. I was pretty impressed with that. Dramatic had a good comeback in the middle. But now we get to move on to the heavyweight division for these two teams. With HIVE leading by 3 points, we have Zika for the Rebels. Rear-hinged flippers, 3 rear-hinged flippers, no real damaging components on them. Mammoth for HIVE has 4 axes, 2 of them up top, 2 of them from the side. They're kind of war pick spike style axes. Mammoth has been winning a lot of gutsy fights lately. It's not invertible though, and Zika has a pretty powerful flipper and a couple ring outs on the season. So what are your predictions for Zika versus Mammoth? What do you make of Peter Abrahamson appearing in front of camera as commentator? He's not commentator, he's kind of an analyst, a technical analyst, I guess. Is the role he's going to be playing. He's been behind the scenes as the quote bot whisperer in previous seasons, which is mainly just him giving the commentary team accurate technical information so they're not just guessing. Lots of people went with Zika. Couple with Mammoth. We'll see if those side plows on Zika hold up. Ooh, it's immediately got Mammoth upside down. But Zika struggling to get those flipping arms back into play. He's got them underneath Mammoth again. Mammoth got some good hits though, while Zika was had those flipping arms out of sync. And once again, they are on top of Mammoth rather than under Mammoth, which is not good for Zika. Mammoth is going to try and flip Zika over here. And it's just going to tear the flipping arms off while it tries to self-right. Okay, Mammoth. Sure. And Mammoth is going to kill Zika. Or it's going to wait for it to get TKO'd here. It's trying to give it a chance to self-right, but nope. Going to take the knockout. Look at that. That was pretty conclusive. Another 3 points to HIVE. They're up 6 by... Well, if the judge's decision goes to the Rebels, they can only get 1 point out of it. So HIVE has won the match 6 points at least to only 1 at this point. So Mammoth with a very convincing win over Zika. As soon as Zika made a mistake getting those flipping arms out of sync, they were done. And now to the super heavyweights for the last fight of this match. We have Heart Attack for the Rebels. It's a rammer with wedges and kind of spiked forks up top, and HIVE has HIVE, which is a piston poker. It's got, I think, 2 sets of spikes on pistons with a lot of reach. HIVE is not invertible. Heart Attack sort of is. It can only it drives with its back wheels upside down. So predictions on Heart Attack versus HIVE. Glitch Fest. Yeah, if Heart Attack gets damages those pistons too much and the pistons come off, we could absolutely have a Glitch Fest. 2 of your favorite super heavyweights. Won't even see the end of it, just thinking we're going to have more than 10 restarts. Well, we'll see how it goes. Lots of people going for... A lot of people leaning towards just physics glitches rather than predicting robots. Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes. Hive, I think, has the firepower advantage here. Oh, what the hell was that? It just knocked Heart Attack straight over. Burnout, was that a physics... Well, that was a physics glitch for sure. Do you think I should restart... Well, I'm restarting it now. God damn, Hive, what the fuck are you up to? It just touches those spikes on the front end of Heart Attack and just... Physics engine does not like it. I think the gaps between the spikes are the perfect size for those iron spikes on Hive to fit into, and so the physics engine just doesn't know how to handle that. But at this point, Hive has gotten a wheel off of the left front of Heart Attack, but Heart Attack's knocking some of those piston spikes off. It's gotten Hive into the grinder, but Hive has rear armor protection. Second wheels come off of Heart Attack, and both of its wedges. So now, oh, Hive has lost all of its piston spikes now. So Hive has basically been disarmed. It's got those front armor plates that it can use for a little bit of damage. Heart Attack, I believe it used to have some spiked armor on the front. Oh, Hive's got it into the grinder now. And going after those wheels. So Heart Attack struggling to drive with most of its wheels missing on the left side. Hive, even though it's got the same number of wheels, its drive is balanced, so it's taking absolute control over this right now. It's knocked all the spikes off of Heart Attack. Look at all the debris just scattered around the ring from this. It's going to shove Heart Attack into the grinder. Oh, it got it stuck on the grinder. Okay. So unless that plow comes off or Hive gets Heart Attack down, it's going to get TKO'd here. Yeah, Heart Attack getting counted out for getting high-centered on the grinder. Good win for Hive. Heart Attack tried, but it just was not resilient enough to hold up to Hive, even without the spikes. 117, that was... How many seconds is that? That's 103 seconds. 103 seconds, yes. Surprising result. Yeah, I figured it wasn't going to be... I didn't think Hive was going to lose all of its weapon power and then still beat the crap out of Heart Attack like that. That was a really interesting result. Right, so Hive, it was very similar to the last match. Hive won the last 3 fights, and then there's a judge's decision pending. So we'll move on to match number 3. Heavy Metal Robotics, one of my favorite teams, against Pink Chaos, one of my other favorite teams. Let's watch a review about all the BattleBots competitors, and Chomp looks thick. Yes, Chomp is a chonky Chomp. So we have Voidwalker for Heavy Metal. It's a 360-degree tri-bar spinner. And we have Unprettier for Pink Chaos, which is an overhead claw, a little bit like a crusher or an axe. Unprettier, not invertible, but can sort of self-right. Voidwalker, definitely not invertible. Leave your predictions in the chat. Pink Chaos, a chaos that is pink. Away and going with Unprettier. Burnout's got a band t-shirt on to represent the Heavy Metal. Well, let's see what Heavy Metal's Voidwalker can do here. Unprettier does have a little bit of protection with those spikes on the side, and if it can knock off two of the 3 weapons off of Voidwalker's weapon, all 3 of them, so Unprettier just straight up in 3 hits sniped all 3 weapons off of Voidwalker. So Voidwalker's weapon has been totally neutralized immediately. And now it's going to come down to Voidwalker just trying to wedge Unprettier into the grinder. Not going to be able to do it. Unprettier just needs to get Voidwalker up on that wedge, and it'll start clawing away at it. Trying to go around to the wheels now to get under Voidwalker. And Voidwalker wisely getting out of there. Unprettier did take a bit of damage to the chassis initially, but that doesn't matter now because Voidwalker is pretty much unable to do anything. Unprettier going to shove it back into the grinder, or towards the grinder, and then just change its mind for some reason. Gotta say, Voidwalker's wedge is pretty damn good. It's out-wedging, or it's neutralizing the wedge of Unprettier here. Neither of them able to get under the other. Those wedges not working as wedges. Yeah, pretty much. Voidwalker's got Unprettier over to the grinder. That's interesting result. And Voidwalker's gotten under Unprettier and is just going to hold it there in the grinder. Okay. Minimal damage, though. But Voidwalker, the first one to get an advantage in this wedging war. About a minute left in this fight. Unprettier still not able to get Voidwalker onto that wedge, and it's kind of reliant on that wedge to use the claw. Because if there's not a robot on Unprettier's wedges, then Unprettier just lifts itself over onto its back when it hits. They're just going to stalemate for a moment. Both of these robots don't really have the speed or the agility to do much with the other. They're all just kind of about the weapon power. The whole lightweight division is going to have judges' decisions this week. I mean, this would be the third in a row. There's a hit to Voidwalker's wedge, but it comes with just 15 seconds to go. So I don't know if this is going to swing the fight in favor of Unprettier or not. As we go to the judges once again. Not a whole lot of damage points scored. Okay, so Unprettier started off early and then just couldn't do anything, and then they took it to a judge's decision. I need to go to a team match because Heavy Metal has the Multibot Heartbreak and Seance in the middleweights, and Pink Chaos has Overthrown. So Heartbreak and Seance is a piston poker in Heartbreak and a rear hinged flipper in Seance. Overthrown is a double front hinged flipper for Pink Chaos. Heartbreak and Seance have won a couple of fights through teamwork. They've also knocked each other out with teamwork. And if Overthrown gets a good toss on either of them, they're lightweight robots. They're half the weight of Overthrown, so they're going to go flying. So leave your predictions for this one. Overthrowing the cluster bots. Everybody kind of going back and forth between Heartbreak and Seance and Overthrown. How many rounds did you miss? You missed 2 matches entirely. We are in the 3rd match between Heavy Metal and Pink Chaos. All right. Chat is kind of split on who's going to win here, so let's see what happens. Overthrown going after Heartbreak first because it does not have a wedge and it's easier for Overthrown to get under it. Oh, but Seance flipping the bigger robot over all by itself. And now Overthrown stuck in the air on top of Seance, and Heartbreak using its teammate as a wedge to get up and attack Overthrown while it's in the air. So the multibot working together very well to start. Overthrown is going to throw Seance on its back. It's got Heartbreak up on the wedge, but isn't attacking it, which is probably not far enough up there, so Seance is going to come in and attack. And just lift Overthrown on top of it. So Overthrown, with just the 2 wheels in the back, is struggling here with Seance effectively out-wedging it consistently here. So Overthrown's got Heartbreak into the grinder now, and it's just going to sit with it on the wedge. I think because the AI mode doesn't flip robots over if they're already upside down. I think Overthrown's gotten stuck in the floor here. Yeah, this is a physics engine problem here. We have to restart. Okay. Well, that was interesting. So, once again, Overthrown going for Heartbreak and not able to get under it this time. Seance attacking from the rear. Also not able to get under Overthrown. Overthrown does toss Seance and is going to beat the crap out of it up against the wall. Heartbreak an attack from the rear this time, and actually doing visible damage to Overthrown's chassis. Overthrown trying, it's going to get away from for the moment. Seance is going to get it up in the air again. Minibot being very effective once again. Overthrown not really able to single either of them out. Ooh, Overthrown backed off and wasn't able to stop before it rammed into the grinder, so a lot of damage now to Overthrown. But it is pretty much KO'd Seance, but Heartbreak has got Overthrown on control board hits now. Overthrown going to attack Heart Attack now. Oh, Seance with a control board hit on Overthrown. So Overthrown's 1 control board hit away from a knockout here. And there it is. So the multi-bot Heartbreak and Seance with a KO over Overthrown. How about that? Now I get to do math to total up the amount of damage they did. "75 seconds, thank you, Burnout." Well, how about that? A multi-bot got a knockout over a much larger robot. That's pretty cool. So we are going to crash the game, because that's how Robot Arena 2, I was about to say works, doesn't work. Physics in this game is almost like the floor in BattleBots. Well, the floor in BattleBots is brand new, and the physics in this game is older than the old floor from BattleBots. I think this game was released in 2003, so... Okay. In the heavyweights, we have Vacuity for Heavy Metal Robotics. It's an axe bot with a lot of defensive features on those front pontoons. Pink Chaos has Panther, which is an invertible rammer with kind of these claws and teeth on the front of it. I don't think Vacuity is invertible, but I don't think Panther would be likely to knock it over. Both of these heavyweights have actually struggled this season, so what do we think in the chat on this? Everyone leaning towards Panther. Vac has a really... Yeah, Vacuity definitely has a very vulnerable axe. It's broken off in just about every fight. But it has enough defensive features to push to judges' decisions pretty consistently. So it landed a big hit on... a couple of big hits on Panther here, who's not really able to do much with all the defensive features on the front of Vacuity. It's trying to get a good push on it, but it's just getting axe blows to the head for its trouble. Vacuity knocking at least 1 spike off. Oh, Panther just drove straight over the top of it. It's got to be careful that it doesn't throw itself out of the arena doing that. Ooh, a big blow from Vacuity. There goes the axe off, like we predicted in the chat. We said it was a vulnerable axe. It's come off now. Vacuity still swinging the... well, it was swinging the extender, no longer is. Panther's knocked its tail off by just backing into the grinder. And now it's taking these huge run-ups at Vacuity. But it's just running into spikes and defensive armor plates. And now Vacuity wedging underneath Panther. Trying to get it over to the grinder. Panther climbing over it to get away. And now Vacuity circles it back into the grinder. Oh! Look at that. Panther almost got Vacuity up and over. He's going to slam it into the wall. Panther just repeatedly losing parts off the front end of these defensive spikes on the front of Vacuity. Not able to get through to Vacuity's chassis. It does get one of Vacuity's wheels off with the grinder, though. And that could be crucial, but Vacuity returns the favor with a wheel of its own. So now, Vacuity basically cannot drive in a straight line at all. Or cannot drive at all. I sneezed. That'll be in the highlights for sure. Panther not able to drive in a straight line with one wheel missing. Just about 40 seconds left. Panther still being very aggressive, and Vacuity basically disabled at this point. Armor panel broken off finally. Oh, Panther just drove itself into the grinder. That's not going to look good to the judges. Then again, Vacuity being unable to even turn around is not going to look good either. Panther's trying to get that remaining wheel into the grinder, but it's too late for a TKO countout. So this one is also going to go to the judges. 2 judges' decisions in this match alone. 5 in the stream so far. Vacuity racking up a lot more damage points, but Panther's damage was more critical because it took off its weapon and disabled its drive. So that'll be interesting to see how that gets scored for the judges. They're going to have a lot of work this week. We're not going to know the results of any of these decisions until next week because we got to give the judges time to review everything. And we don't expect them to be on every stream live because that would interfere with people's lives. Give me just a second here. Okay. Blow my nose. Right. Super heavyweight time. Aqua Dementia. One of only 3 undefeated robots so far at 7-0 against Dysfunctional Stepsister. Both of these are flippers. Dysfunctional Stepsister has 10 rear-hinged flipping arms. Aqua Dementia has a bunch of side-hinged flipping arms. I really don't know what to think of this one because Dysfunctional Stepsister can do they can both do a lot of damage. Dysfunctional Stepsister I think has the wedging advantage. But it mistimes it. It gets all its flipping arms out of sync quite often. It's actually only won 2 or 3 fights so far. So I really don't know what to think here. Leave your predictions for Aqua Dementia and Dysfunctional Stepsister. Number of people going for Dysfunctional Stepsister for the win here. Number of people going for Aqua Dementia. It's going to be a good fight either way, I feel. We'll see which wedge comes out on bottom. Aqua Dementia struggling with the floor and bouncing straight on top of Dysfunctional Stepsister. So now Dysfunctional Stepsister's got all its flipping arms out of sync. It's still gotten underneath Aqua Dementia, but now Aqua Dementia gotten underneath Dysfunctional Stepsister. So they've both taken quite a bit of damage, but Dysfunctional Stepsister in the grinder now. It's had some control board hits. Aqua Dementia just trying to press it into the grinder. And that's it. That's the KO. So Aqua Dementia turned the tables and took advantage of the hazards to get that KO. Eight 8-0, undefeated for Aqua Dementia, and that wins the fight for Heavy Metal because they have 6 points, and there's only 2 points to be given out by the judges for these 2 judges' decisions. So Heavy Metal wins the match over Pink Chaos decisively, which is, I mean, Pink Chaos has been tying all of their matches. I think they've had 3 draws so far this season, so not a good way to break their draw drought. But, yeah, Heavy Metal, conclusive win. What defines a pin? A pin is when a robot... so the way that the game works, when the TKO count, the 10-second count is going, the other AI stops moving and waits for the count. But if it does that right up against the other robot or with it stuck on top of it, it doesn't allow that robot to move and break the count, and so we classify that as a pin, and we restart the fight. If they allow the other robot to move enough to break the count, then the fight just continues. In this case, the control board was registered as destroyed in this fight, so that was not a TKO, that was not counted out, that was a control board KO. So... Right, moving on to our 4th match. This is Team 5, the Indiana Robotics Alliance out of Indianapolis, and they are against Team 10, which is the Baltimore Kestrels. So for Indiana, we have X Factor, a low-slung horizontal spinner, and the Kestrels have El Gringo, which is a super compact rammer, which is also invertible. I think both of them are invertible, actually. Not that I expect it to matter here. What are your predictions? Go Indiana, says Blake. Yes. I'm glad you're in the chat, Blake. I was gonna say last week that we probably need to like meet up for like a socially distanced lunch or something someday. Everybody leaning towards X Factor in this one. Make a bot for next year named Governor Holcomb. But we want people to like the robots next year, Baron Goal. Alright, here we go. X Factor and El Gringo. X Factor getting to the side of El Gringo and getting hits on those wheels. El Gringo takes a charge and breaks off one of the weapon teeth, though. So now X Factor, unbalanced, missing one of its spikes, and getting controlled by El Gringo at the moment. Missing 2 of its weapon spikes now. El Gringo trying to push it over to the grinder, which is more or less the only way it's going to do a considerable amount of damage. But it's taken the whole weapon off of X Factor now. Okay. So those front spikes on El Gringo doing a lot of work and breaking the weapon of X Factor off altogether. El Gringo doesn't have the drive power of some of the other lightweight rammers, but it is still pretty effective using those front spikes. X Factor, I don't know what to describe X Factor as now. It's just a wide box, wide uncontrollable box at the moment, which keeps falling over on its own. This is more or less just waiting for El Gringo to end the fight, whether it be by TKO or knockout. But it's gotten X Factor tripping over its own motor and trying to use the motor for protection. It's too late, X Factor. There's another control board hit. Just one more and El Gringo will have the knockout. Ooh, X Factor getting away from that charge there. Oh, there's the KO with 118 remaining. El Gringo kind of had a slow start to the season, but it's slowly building up and racking up points. 102 seconds. Thank you. Then we move on to the middleweights. Gringo's slowing down towards the end. Yeah, it doesn't have a whole lot of battery power because it's so tiny. So, Indiana coming into the middleweights with the Iron Curtain, which is just a wall of defensive armor plates and a piston that pokes through the center. The Kestrels are coming in with Drigger, which is a piston with kind of a tiger claw-shaped spike set up on it. Drigger is invertible, the Iron Curtain is not, but the Iron Curtain does have all of the defensive features. So, leave your predictions. Are they controlled by AI? Yes, Luke, they are controlled by the game's AI. They are not controlled by people. Iron Curtain to win somehow. Drigger, Drigger, Drigger. We will see. Iron Curtain had a very bad time against Explicit Equation, I think it was last week, which was another piston poker. So let's see what Drigger has for it. Or if the Iron Curtain proves to be too much defense for Drigger to get through. Those extenders that hold Drigger's weapon together are vulnerable to the Iron Curtain getting that spike in. Drigger going to back away and reset and come at Iron Curtain again here. Kind of going with this alternating attack for a bit. And now it's gotten one of the armor panels off the front. It's actually gotten both of the center armor panels off now. But Iron Curtain's got Drigger backed into the corner and is attacking Drigger's weapon directly now. Oh, but Drigger took the whole weapon off of Iron Curtain. So Iron Curtain down to just a single armor panel protecting a wheel. And it's doing what it can to disrupt Drigger, who's taken a lot of damage from the grinder. But Iron Curtain now flipped over running into Drigger. So, oh, physics, why did you do that? I have to restart it now, even though the fight was basically over. I'll try this one again. Drigger getting some bigger hits on the Iron Curtain than last fight. And again, kind of doing that shuffling side-to-side thing. Oh, it broke the tip right off of Iron Curtain's weapon. So Iron Curtain has been neutered with its spike tip lopped off. And now this is just Drigger taking its time to break through the Iron Curtain's defenses. There goes some more armor pieces off the Iron Curtain. Iron Curtain trying to push back and avoid being pushed into the grinder, but Drigger holding its ground. All the front end of Iron Curtain is gone. It's fallen over on its face. Iron Curtain is pretty much done. I think Drigger's running out of gas power here. Because the weapon is pretty slow in its attacks here now. I think Drigger's run out of gas. For some reason with Robot Arena 2, no matter how little CO2 gas power you have in the robot, it will still function, even when it runs out. So it just has less power when it does so. So Drigger going to take the TKO with Iron Curtain stuck on its face here. That is 96 seconds. Drigger actually got a win. And that is 5-0, that match. So, Indiana can come back to win this, but they need knockouts in the next two fights. So, in the heavyweights, Indiana brings Second Amendment, which is a rammer with its spikes kind of angled down into a wedge shape. The Kestrels bring Warbird, which is a rear-hinged flipper with 3 rear-hinged flippers and a lot of defensive spikes around the sides. Second Amendment's invertible, but Warbird does not have wheel protection. It's got some spikes in front of the wheels, but not over the wheels. So it'll be interesting to see how these two fight each other. My handwriting gets worse every week. Bird. Yeah. Interestingly, Warbird I designed and built for the original version of Robot Rampage on the Patreon show, and that would have been 2016, 2015? That would have been a while ago that I built Warhawk. Or, not Warhawk, Warbird. See, you even got me confused now. Well, a lot of people going with Second Amendment here. Let's see what happens. Warbird going to toss Second Amendment at the wall, but not over it. Getting some good throws, though. Second Amendment just ramping over the top of Warbird and almost over the wall on its own. Warbird getting some of its flipping arms out of sync here. But it's just... Man, Second Amendment's really playing with that top bar on the wall. Warbird having trouble getting its flipping arms in sync sometimes, which could make them vulnerable to Second Amendment, like right now. But it's just going to push Warbird into the wall and then get tossed in the air again. Second Amendment getting a lot of air miles here. Oh, it's gotten under the flipping arms once again, though. But not able to do much with them. Warbird not speedy and not a lot of drive power. Definitely not as much as Second Amendment has, but Second Amendment has to come at Warbird. I think one of the flipping arms has come off of Warbird now. So Second Amendment is getting those spikes into play on them. Oh, another one's come off. So Warbird down to a single flipping spike. It's knocked some of the wheel guards off of Second Amendment. And now the last spike's come off. So Warbird is weaponless. Now we saw Warbird take a fight to the judges after it lost its weapon. So that's what they're going to be trying to do again here. But I'm not sure if that's going to work against a much more agile and dangerous robot like this. With Second Amendment, who's trying to get the wheel. It's now gotten a wheel to come off of Warbird. It's now Warbird down to just one-wheel drive. So Second Amendment's patience has paid off, and its ability to stay in the arena has paid off. Oh, don't just sit there and twitch. Well, Warbird's defensive spikes are doing a pretty good job of keeping Second Amendment from damaging its chassis too much. Oh, was that a control board hit on Second Amendment? Hello, Warbird doing damage back. Second Amendment trying to get that other wheel into the grinder. And like I said, not able to get past those defensive features into Warbird's chassis to get a knockout. 15 seconds to go. This one is probably going to go down to the judges. Well then, how is the early part of the fight where Second Amendment was getting thrown around going to compare to the second half of this fight where Warbird was disabled? Man, the judges are going to have a heck of a workout this week. Tempted to make a Season 2 entry called Thunder Cuckoo Falcon Bird. It's got to be one word. Thunder Cuckoo Falcon Bird. Because that's how it is in the show. Okay. Super heavyweight time. Indiana cannot win the match now. It's been won by the Kestrels. Because the Kestrels have 5 points, and the most Indiana could get from the last fight is 1 for the judges' decision, so That wraps up the win for Baltimore. But can Black Widow beat Berserker here? Black Widow with the kind of face drill weapon. Berserker 4 horizontal spinning weapons on the corners. Berserker and Black Widow not been doing so well this season. Predictions, please. I see Ezaf Bayleaf with the $10 super chat. Definitely think some bots gain an advantage by having physics force a restart every time they lose their weapon. Would you change the rules in the next season to stop this? P.S. How to buy Robot Arena 2? Thank you very much for the super chat. I really appreciate that. So, firstly, Robot Arena 2, you don't need to buy it. There is a free version available on GameTechMods.com. The game's been completely abandoned since it was released pretty much, so there's no need to buy it. You can find mods and everything for the game there too. As for robots getting an advantage when fights get restarted, we are considering for next season having a disqualification rule for if a fight gets restarted too many times. But we also are going to be personally reviewing each robot, you know, to make sure they meet the rules and everything, but also to make sure that they're not taking advantage of glitches or exploits that we've missed. So putting a bunch of components on the front to deliberately trigger restarts is something we're just not going to allow people to submit robots like that. So there is going to be some quality control. I don't think we're going to need extra rules regarding robots getting advantages when things break off and restart, but it's definitely something that's being discussed. So let's get Black Widow and Berserker going. Well, they kind of start out touching tips. Berserker, I think, can get to Black Widow's chassis. It's knocked off some of the side spikes for Black Widow. It's going to have to leave its starting square sooner. The game is going to start a 10 count on it. Black Widow doing its best to get in there and hold it in place. It's knocked one spike off of Berserker's right front weapon too now. It's gotten Berserker back into one of the grinders. So Berserker trying to get that left front weapon into play now. There was a minor physics glitch, but I'm going to let the fight continue because it hasn't changed the outcome of the fight yet. Black Widow been thrown into the air and upside down. Okay, restarting. I was about to say it had lost its weapon, but we got to restart it now. Oh, Black Widow getting to Berserker's side and getting some damage on that wheel. Not enough to take it off. Oh, getting to the wheel again. Berserker not driving very well. Spikes once again coming off of Berserker. And damage being done to that right front weapon. To the motor. Looks like Berserker's going to avoid being backed into the grinder this time. Oh, it knocked defensive spikes off the sides of Black Widow at the same time, both sides. More defensive spikes coming off of Black Widow. A whole weapon coming off of Berserker, though. It's getting that left front weapon into Black Widow's chassis, though, and getting chassis hits. And now Black Widow's lost its weapon entirely. All the spikes are gone off the disc, so Black Widow taking chassis damage and not able to give chassis damage in return. Spikes coming off of Berserker still. It's still got two on that left front weapon. Berserker, or not, Black Widow's got the pushing power, though. And we've seen it do damage with those top armor plates to robots before, so that's still a possibility here for Black Widow to get some more damage points with the judges. Definitely getting the control points, pushing Berserker around and getting it into the grinder. That was a big hit. Oh, but control board hits on Black Widow now. Berserker only needs a few more hits and it'll have a KO here. Unless Black Widow keeps getting it into the grinder like that. Oh, the left front weapon's off altogether now. And Black Widow's trying to trap Berserker into the grinder. It's down to just that right rear spinning disc. And Black Widow doing damage with those armor plates in the front a little bit at a time. Ooh, big hit with them, though. Trying to get Berserker back to the grinder. I'm going to ignore that physics glitch because Black Widow recovered from it quickly. 30 seconds left. Oh, another big hit. That's a control board hit on Berserker. That's another one. That is not the end of the fight. There's one more control board hit left for Berserker. It's trying to hold out to the judges here. But that's a KO with 8 seconds left. Black Widow clawed it back. That was kind of impressive from Black Widow. That's, I think, the second time that it's KO'd a robot with those armor panels up top after it had lost its weapon. So that at least gets 3 points back for Indiana. They're not going to win the match because Kestrels have 5 points, and the most Indiana can get from the heavyweight judge's decision is 1 point. So Indiana lost, but they at least got some points. Baron Gull says, "Hey, Mike." I say, "Hey, Baron Gull." Magic says hi. Aw, Magic is cute. Okay, next match we have Team 13. The Orlando Commandos. And Team 18. Which is River City Robotics out of Arkansas. That's Little Rock, Arkansas. So, for the Commandos, we have Airtime, a piston flipper. The way that pistons work in Robot Arena 2 is they're missing some of the Newtonian laws of physics. So they don't have recoil when they extend, but they have recoil when they retract. It's very strange the way that they work. They don't make very good flipping weapons in Robot Arena 2 because they don't have a whole lot of force when they come out, but they work okay for this robot. Airtime sort of can self-right. Network is invertible. It's a saw spinner. Saw blades in the game do steady, low amounts of damage over time rather than a bunch of damage all in one big hit. So we classify them actually differently to horizontal or vertical spinners. So predictions for Airtime versus Network. Airtime for the memes. Fight of the week contender. We've had a number of fight of the week contenders, Razor259. Commandos went 11-0 last week. Yes, they did. They specifically went 11-0 because their boy American Killjoy was not watching the stream. Airtime's gonna die. Well, we'll see. A lot of people leaning towards Network. Network's been doing pretty good this season for a saw blade spinner. So we'll see how this comes out here. It's gotten the saw blade. Okay, how did a robot armed with saw blades get the other robot entirely on top of it like a wedge? That's not right. Well, they're going to break apart here at least, and Airtime going to get a good flip on Network. Network can drive upside down. It's got those saw blades into the sides of Airtime now. Oh, it's broken one of the piston arms off, so Airtime down to just one flipping arm and stuck at a really awkward angle jammed into these saw blades. I think the game's going to make them break a 10 count once again here, unless Network just keeps driving them around. I can't even tell if damage is being done to Airtime or not because I'm not hearing any game noise from it. Network is better upside down. I mean, Network cannot hit wedges when it's upside down, but Airtime going to try and use the flipper to get away. And it's just going to end up on top of Network again, who is just going to keep pushing it around. Is it going to push it over to the grinder? Not quite. Oh, yes, it is. Network putting Airtime onto the grinder a little bit, but taking damage to one of its saw blade motors at the same time. Network has been surprisingly wedgy. I know, right? I was not expecting saw blades with big motors sticking up out of them to be out wedging other robots, but here we go. We can see that Airtime has taken a little bit of damage to its chassis from the saw blades earlier. It's going to take a little bit more now here. I think what Airtime's doing, it's just hiding. It's jumping on top of Network and hiding there so it can't take damage from the saw blades. I think that's what's happening. The in-game crowd noises are booing because not enough damage is being done. Network's just going to push Airtime around some more. Crowd booing intensifies, yes. It's gotten Airtime over to one of the grinders, and now it's into them, or into the grinder, briefly. 24 seconds left. And once again, I think another lightweight match, or lightweight fight, is going to the judges. We may need all of the judges this week with all of these decisions. This has been crazy. Wait, who's getting counted out? Doesn't matter because the fight is over and it is judges' decision time. Network, the only one to score damage points. Although Airtime did, or Network did take a little bit of damage to a motor with the corner grinder, so that does need to be taken into account. Well then. Judge's decision number 7, is it? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's decision number 6, I believe. Which is more than most entire weeks in the league. Well, that's only 1 point available for the lightweights once again. As we move on to the middleweights. So the Commandos bring Q, a sit-and spinner. It's a little bit like a thwackbot. It just sits in place and spins, and it's got spikes around the outside. Relies on the other robot running into it. River City has Cleansing, which is a front-hinged flipper with kind of a spike wedge on the front. Q is invertible. Cleansing is invertible. Cleansing has been doing very poorly lately. So let's see your predictions here. And if anybody's wondering about the spelling of Q, it's just the letter Q followed by a whole bunch of silent U's and E's. Everybody leaning towards Q here. Lowest damage score ever. Airtime has had a lot of fights. Some fights that it won where it had 0 damage points. Q because not relevant with social distancing. That is true. Let's see if Cleansing can solve that. It's gotten Q up into the air and trapped against the wall and is just beating the crap out of it with that flipping spike rather than actually flipping it. Q is trying to get away and get up to speed, and it sort of has now. But Cleansing has that spike wedge on the front to kind of absorb that. Oh, it's going for the wheels now. A wheel taken off of Q. I think this is the first time we've seen Q lose a wheel. It is doing damage to Cleansing's chassis, though, as Cleansing is trying to get underneath and get that flipping arm into play. Oh, it's taken the flipping arm right off. So now all that Cleansing has is that spike wedge on the front. And Q can still spin in place, well, sort of spin in place, with its single wheel. However, it may struggle to break a count, but Cleansing's on control board hits now. And Q is going to get the knockout despite losing a wheel. So, Cleansing tried its best. It's probably taken the fight to Q better than any other robot has, and Q just kind of kept getting those spikes into play. So that is a definitive 3 points to Orlando. And now we move into the heavyweights with Drillosaurus for the Commandos. 3 kind of face drill weapons, and River City has Jaws of Death with these swinging spiked clubs. So, what do we predict for Drillosaurus versus Jaws of Death? Everybody going for Drillosaurus on this one. First time I've seen redundant wheels on a two-wheeled bot. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by redundant wheels, unless you mean for Q. So one of the things you can do with Robot Arena 2 that we do not allow for this competition, you can actually stack components inside each other in the same point in space. And some other Robot Arena 2 tournaments allow that. We don't allow that because then people just put weapon components in the same point in space and do 3 times the damage. And that's just no fun. So, you know, I've seen some competitions where they have multiple wheels stacked inside each other. But we don't have that here. Drillosaurus already taken one of the spiked clubs off of Jaws of Death. Jaws of Death doing everything it can here to just get through the wall of drills, and it's just not worked out at all. But luckily for everybody, the game fight has to be restarted. One of these days I'll figure out what the right words are. There's a big hit to start. Jaws trying to get the clubs, probably trying to get them to the center of the discs and knock the discs off, but not happening. Drillosaurus just going to tear the clubs right off of Jaws of Death. Get underneath Jaws of Death, tear up its underbelly. Jaws of Death can't even get away because Drillosaurus won't let it. Now a wheel, all the front end of Jaws of Death. And there's the knockout with 17 seconds left. Or 2 minutes, 17 seconds left. Well, that was conclusive, and that will win the match for Orlando. Get out of my nose, whatever you are. Okay, that's better, I think. So yeah, that wins the match for Orlando because they have 6 points, and there's a single point being awarded for the first match, or the first fight in the lightweight. So the way that the Robot Rampage League deals out points is it's 3 points for a control board knockout, 2 points for a 10-count TKO, 2 points for throwing a robot out over the walls and out of the ring, and a single point for a judge's decision. So getting KOs is really critical, and we've had a lot of KOs lately, but we've also had a lot of judges' decisions. So let's go into the super heavies with Abrin for Orlando and River City going in with Overseer. Abrin has 4 spiked axes. Overseer has a big horizontal spinner in the front with a bunch of defensive attachments. So, predictions for Abrin versus Overseer. Get out of my nose, whoever you are, Mike 2020. Shoosh. Get started on building Team Baked Potato. Yes, you've got plenty of time. We still have half the regular season of this season to go. We have playoffs to do, and then there will be time when we're finalizing the rules for Season 2. There's plenty of time to get Robot Arena 2, learn how to build, learn how to get good at it before we start accepting robots for Season 2. Lots of people going for Abrin. Overseer's Blade isn't going to last 2 seconds. The thing is, Abrin is not invertible. Overseer's not either, but Overseer's very wide, and Abrin kind of lifts itself in the air when it fires its weapons. So it's possible Overseer could knock Abrin over here. Overseer did get its first win of the season last week in a judge's decision. So it does have a single point to its name. Could Overseer get its second win? Or is Abrin just going to rip the whole front end off of it? Well, it's climbed on top of it, which is kind of not what Abrin wants. They're just kind of stuck here on with Abrin sitting on top of Overseer's weapon. Can it get off, though? Is it trying to get off the weapon? I don't think it is. Overseer is the worst super heavyweight in the league. By performance, absolutely. It has the worst record in the super heavyweight. No, it doesn't. Smashy has no wins yet. Overseer and Smashy McSmashface are the two lowest performing ones. But Overseer is getting around to the side and back of Abrin, who's going to take another shot at the weapon. And now the disc has come off, and the motor as well. So Abrin tearing into the front end of Overseer here and pushing it back to the grinder. And now getting hits to the chassis. So Abrin working through the whole front end of Overseer to get to the chassis now. And it's just holding it to the grinder. Now, if it leaves it here until it gets counted out, then that's a pin and we have to restart. But it has given Overseer the chance to get away from the count. And now it's just going to cave in the front end of Overseer's chassis. And that is a KO. 91 seconds for Abrin. It took a while, but it got it. All right, so Orlando comes away with at least 9 points and possibly a 10th point if they win that lightweight fight, which I don't think they are going to win that decision, but it's possible if the judges are on crack. So let's move on to our next match. The Meta Bot Builders taking on Team 8, which is the Armchair Engineers. Can someone please send Stephen Kim a link to get Robot Arena 2? Okay. Is that Abrin's longest fight? It might be. Abrin is very good at getting quick KOs. Okay. Meta bringing in Uglybot, which is a piston poker spike bot. I think Uglybot is invertible. It struggles to drive upside down, though. Whipwreck is an invertible sit-and-spin flail thwack bot. It's got a flail on the end of the thwacking arm. It has a lot of drive power, sometimes too much drive power. What are the predictions for this one? Everybody leaning towards Uglybot on this one. Killjoy stepped out of the room so that his team could win. Good call. All right, Uglybot versus Whipwreck. Let's see what we get here. Ooh, Whipwreck getting a big hit on the back of Uglybot, but Uglybot taking the whole weapon off at once. So now Whipwreck is weaponless and largely uncontrollable. But it does have a ton of drive power, and it managed to ring a robot out and knock it over the wall with that drive power previously. So it doesn't look like it's going to get the chance to do that here because Uglybot is just tearing into it. And Whipwreck is completely unstable without that pole on the end. Oh, now he's got it over into the grinder. Whipwreck's going to drive straight up the wall because that's how wheel physics work in this game. And that's a knockout. There's a lot of Stevens in the chat, apparently. Next up for Meta is Creighton. Undefeated 7-0, Creighton is. And the Armchair Engineers Oh, yeah. Let me... Thought they had the middleweight, but it's actually a heavyweight. Armchair Engineers have Mini Berserker, which is 2 horizontal spinning weapons. Creighton has 4 rear-hinged flipping arms. Mini Berserker's not been doing very well. Neither has regular-sized Berserker. Predictions on the undefeated Creighton versus Mini Berserker. Creighton to go 8-0. Creighton's got a good chance here because Mini Berserker is among the worst light middleweights in the league so far. Yeah, everybody going for Creighton here. Well, let's see. And Mini Berserker upside down and not invertible. Creighton gonna give it a sporting chance and put it back on its wheels and then flip it over again. But Mini Berserker is doing a lot of damage to the top of Creighton, who takes both discs off at once. So Creighton showing that it's not just a flipper, it can also do a lot of damage with those spiked flipping arms. Oh, Mini Berserker managed to bumble its way upright. Creighton struggling to get those flipping arms in sync once again, which it does now. And it's going to get the knockout in 54 seconds. Well, that's another robot that is undefeated 8-0. And that is a 6-0 lead for Meta Bot Builders over the Armchair Engineers. And now we move to the multi-bot match. So Meta in the heavyweights has Psychogenic Harmfulness, a double vertical spinner. The Armchair Engineers have Axis and Allies. Axis is a front-hinged flipper, Allies is a double vertical spinner, and they work together as a multi-bot, and they do okay sometimes. But they're against Psychogenic Harmfulness, another double vertical spinner. So what do we think for this this fight? How many matches left? So we have 3 more complete matches after this one. Every match is 4 fights, 1 fight in each weight class. Axis and Allies are good bots, but the rest of their team is crap. Yeah, the Armchair Engineers and River City Robotics are the 2 lowest teams in the league right now. They're kind of trading last place with each other. Let's see what happens with... Oh, we got another robot in there. Let's see what happens. Well, Axis immediately parks itself underneath Psychogenic Harmfulness, who's not able to do damage to it, and Allies is going to attack Psychogenic from the rear, where it has a lot of defensive armor. It looks like it's taken the flipping arm off of Axis. Oh, but Allies got one of the wheels for Psychogenic Harmfulness, so the multi-bot teaming up has worked. And now they're going to kind of go weapon on weapon. Allies is going to go at the side to try and get the weapon motor off of Psychogenic Harmfulness, which it does successfully. Physics is going to get very angry with them for it, but we're going to let it run because it didn't really affect how the fight was going. Psychogenic Harmfulness got a shot on Allies' wheel now. Allies going for the other wheel. Wow, the multi-bot team has been extremely effective here. Allies is kind of lost while... oh, no, it's been thrown on its back now, so we got to restart the fight. Why did you do that, Allies? You could have just kept attacking the wheel, but no, you had to go and play on your back. Here we go. Looks like another repeat of, well, not quite, because Psychogenic Harmful has gotten a big hit on the top of Axis and knocked the flipping arm off again. Allies is going after the backside of Psychogenic Harmfulness and taking off one of the rear armor panels, actually. And one of the stabilizers, the left side stabilizers, come off of Psychogenic Harmfulness. So Allies once again doing a lot of work here, and Axis holding Psychogenic in place so that it can do that. It's taken one of the weapons completely off of, or no, it's totally disabled the weapon on Allies, who's got no damaging teeth left on that remaining disc. And Psychogenic Harmfulness is stuck on top of Axis's wedge, and Axis has lost a disc, or lost a wheel to the grinder. So Psychogenic Harmfulness managing to claw its way out of a 2-on-1 situation. Still cannot do anything about Axis's wedge. And Allies is just trying to do what it can. It's almost knocked Psychogenic Harmfulness totally over. It's trying to get it over. It's not invertible. They might be able to get a TKO here if they leave it alone. And Psychogenic is going to take the disc off of Allies. We're halfway through the fight, and Psychogenic Harmfulness is not having it anymore. It's going to try and take out Axis. It's going to try and take out Allies at the same time. But once again, getting stuck on that wedge. Oh, Psychogenic Harmfulness almost knocked itself over just with gyro forces, it looked like. So, Psychogenic Harmfulness is going to knock out Allies here. It also needs to knock out Axis if it wants the 3 points. And it got them. It got the 3 points, a knockout on both of them. So that could have been a very disastrous fight for Psychogenic Harmfulness, but it managed to pull out the win. The multibot almost had it. Almost. But that is another 3 points for Meta, who are up 9-0. So, you know, not looking good for the Armchair Engineers heading into the Super Heavyweights. So, Meta bringing Spearmint, which is kind of a scoop-shaped wedge rammer. The Armchair Engineers have Smashy McSmashface, which has 5 hammer arms. Spearmint, not invertible, but designed to scoop robots up and get them over the wall. Smashy McSmashface was designed to look like it was built in Robot Arena 1. That was what it was designed for. So, predictions are mostly in favor of Spearmint. 3 restarts because Smashy won't get off the wall. Yeah, Smashy gets stuck on the wall sometimes. Let's see if it'll get down off the wall here. No. But Spearmint wasn't able to get much of an advantage, so we're going to let it run. Smashy having the lower wedge? That's odd, but it's true. Spearmint is not able to do much with Smashy here, but it is able to push it over to the wall and get it near the grinder. One of the hammerheads has broken off of Smashy McSmashface. Now 2 of them have, because it's hitting those spike strips on the front of Spearmint. Now 3 of the hammerheads are off. Ooh, it almost got Spearmint's wheels. And Spearmint just struggling to do anything with Smashy's wedge. That's really odd. I didn't think Smashy had that good of a wedge, to be honest. Spearmint pushing into the wall hard enough to toss itself in the air. Oh, and Smashy took a break for a second, and Spearmint was trying to get in the grinder. You can see that kind of scoop shape, trying to get Smashy up and over. Smashy's still trying to be aggressive despite Spearmint mostly being on the attack here. And Spearmint's going to get to the side and get Smashy up against the wall. Not able to keep it on that top scoop, though. Spearmint's been really good this season. I was not expecting it to have this much trouble against Smashy McSmashface, but here we are. This is why we have rules requiring teams to have multiple weapon types on their teams instead of all the same type of robot, because then you get all kinds of interesting matchups like this where you just don't expect the outcome. Now Spearmint's stuck on Smashy. Smashy's just going to peck away at this upper wedge. But they do have to break the pin at some point. Spearmint still struggling with Smashy's wedge. Smashy down to a single ice pick weapon. And 25 seconds left. This will be interesting because Smashy's obviously taken the most damage and it's been controlled the most, but... Oh, here we go. Oh, was that a KO? I was about to say pushing Smashy towards the wall for a ring out, but no, that was a KO. Those spike tips eventually broke down Smashy's armor. $169 seconds. Nice. Understated KO. Very understated KO, but that is a perfect 12-0 match for Meta over the Armchair Engineers. They're sitting, what, second or third in the standings. They really needed a big points day, and boy, did they get it. So the next match is watching the game crash. Mini Berserker and Smashy are contenders for the worst bots of the league. Yeah, they're not great. They are the opposite of great. But our next matchup is Team 14, the Kinetic Creatures, and Team 11, which is the C Team. So, Kinetic Creatures have Steel Dragon in the lightweights, which is a vertical saw blade spinner. Again, saw blade spinners classified differently to other vertical spinners. C Team has Brickface, which is a sit and spin thwack bot with an angled thwacking weapon, a little bit like T-Rex from old BattleBots. Predictions for Steel Dragon versus Brickface. Brickface gonna have issues. Gonna head out. See you, Rook. Yes, thank you for being here. A lot of people leaning towards Brickface on this one. Brickface to Uda itself. Steel Dragon does have a wedge. We'll see. Oh, that's the wrong arena. Let's get this match started. Brickface, a little bit unstable, but getting that thwacking weapon in a little bit. The main thing, though, is because it's got so much drive power to just spin around, Steel Dragon can't really get those saw blades in, but now Brickface has taken its own wheel off with the corner grinder. And it's going to actually push Steel Dragon into the corner grinder now. Believe it or not, Brickface is more stable with one wheel than it is with two. It's not turning itself into a spinning telegraph pole. Well then. Steel Dragon's the one who can control this fight, but it doesn't have the drive power to really get in there while Brickface is spinning. And Brickface doesn't have the ability to come after it because it's only on one wheel. You know, I think I know exactly what's happening here. The C team had a bet, and they bet kinetic creatures. They bet them they could beat Steel Dragon with only one wheel is what happened here. Brickface just threw itself into the grinder on purpose so that they could win a bet. Oh, hold on. The weapon arm broke right off after landing on top of the saw blades, and now Brickface is stuck on one of its ends, either the front or the rear, and its only remaining wheel is off of the ground. Oh, but Steel Dragon's going to hold it in place, and it's going to count as a pin. Don't do that. So this is a pin, and we are going to have to restart that because Steel Dragon did not give Brickface a chance to get away from that count out. Let's see if Brickface takes a wheel off again. That would confirm the bet theory. They've done a lot of damage to one of the saw blade motors for Steel Dragon, who's just unable to keep up with Brickface's overpowered drive spasms. Although it is trying to get those saw blades into that weapon extender again. He's gotten Brickface over to the grinder this time and is underneath once again. Once again, a wheel has come off of Brickface. And I think once again Steel Dragon's going to pin it in place and make us restart. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. Doing it again, too. Big hit from Brickface to start the fight. Steel Dragon, once again, unable to get in there. Is just kind of waiting for Brickface to bounce itself around unstably and get itself near the grinder so that Steel Dragon can move in. Man, Brickface gets a lot of speed going when it's not throwing itself upright. And once again, it's thrown itself into the grinder, and Steel Dragon's going to take advantage. It's knocked one of the spikes off of the thwacking weapon, and it's got Brickface's chassis against the grinder. Brickface trying to get out of there. It manages to do so. And now the weapon's broken right off on the saw blades again. Steel Dragon, I believe, is 0-7. I don't think it's ever won a fight, but it has a chance here if it would just stop pinning Brickface. It's knocked a wheel off. The grinder's gotten a control board hit on Brickface. Now, Steel Dragon digging those saw blades in. Please don't pin it. It backed up. And it's going to let Brickface break the count like it should. Brickface trying to run away mostly. Sawblade's doing some more damage. Steel Dragon trying to get Brickface over to the grinder. It'd be interesting if Steel Dragon's first fight victory is a a 3-point knockout. What are those gray squares doing? That is just a... that's just the smoke effect that's not loading in properly. It's just a texture problem with the game. Just think of it as white smoke. For God's sake, no more pins. I know, right? Just please put this match out of our misery and just end it. Push Brickface into the grinder. Come on, you're almost there. Get it into the grinder and get that last control board hit. No, don't go around to the side. That's a bad idea. Well, Brickface is immobile, and it is not being impeded by Steel Dragon here. So that is a TKO with 5 seconds remaining. So, Kinetic Creatures with 2 points over the C team in the lightweights. And now C team going to bring out the big guns in the middleweights. So we have Siege, vertical bar spinner for Kinetic Creatures, but the C team has Explicit Equation, 4 piston spikes, 7-0 undefeated, every one of them a knockout. Who do we think is going to win Siege versus Explicit Equation? Get your first win and then face Explicit Equation. Yeah, I know, right? Tamabris Explicit Equation to go 8-0. Though it's not safe for work unless you're a math teacher or a scientist. Yeah, math has been fucking over a lot of robots this season. And I think it's going to happen again here. Thank you for the 11-pound super chat. I very much appreciate it, Tamabris. Like I said, YouTube's my only source of income at the moment, so I very much appreciate that. Everybody going with Explicit Equation for this one. So let's see math get another one. Explicit Equation going right into Siege's weapon. Nothing breaking off of either robot at the moment. Siege... Oh, it tried to go for the wheels, and the Explicit Equation got it with those... Got it onto one of those armor panels. It's broken one of Explicit Equation's spikes off. There goes that armor panel on the right front of Siege. 2 spikes off of Explicit Equation now. So Explicit Equation losing its weapon power, but it's knocking the armor off the front end of Siege. I think Siege has gotten a couple hits on Explicit Equation's chassis, and now it's breaking the weapon bars off of Siege. But a single spike is left on Explicit Equation. Siege has an opportunity to break off that last, but it flipped over. It ran into debris and flipped itself over. So Siege has to be able to right itself here. It has a single spiked bar remaining, and it's trying to get upright with the whatever wheel will touch the ground. Explicit Equation is trying to do damage while it's on its back. Siege has managed to right itself. It has a single spiked club remaining. It's very unbalanced. But it is doing damage to the chassis of Explicit Equation. Explicit Equation doing damage to the chassis of Siege. I think this is the most that Explicit Equation's ever been challenged, but it's broken the weapon of Siege off entirely. It bounced it onto the grinder briefly. Now Siege is being a push bot. I think it actually broke the weapon on Explicit Equation as well. These two literally fit together perfectly. I did not expect to have to ship these two robots, but that is apparently what is happening here. Explicit Equation, more or less useless without its weapon. Siege has a little bit of wedging power. They both have the same amount of drive power, though. And Siege does technically still have these little stubs on its motor, its weapon motor spinning, so... Very interesting result here. I was not expecting any of this. Oh, Siege almost got Explicit Equation back into the grinder. So it looks like Explicit Equation is not going to get a KO here. Its perfect run is going to end, and there's a chance it might lose this on a judge's decision. And that is a judge's decision between Siege and Explicit Equation. Ha! I was not expecting Siege to be the one to break the streak, but the possibility is there. This is just a totally weird matchup here between these two, because Steel Dragon got its first win, and Explicit Equation might lose on a judge's decision of all things. Okay. What a strange matchup this is. So moving on to the heavyweights, we have Surgical Glory for Kinetic Creatures, which is a sit and spin thwack bot with flails on the ends. C-Team has Steel Dragon, which is classified as a rear hinged flipper and an overhead axe, because it's got these kind of bitey spike strip weapon thing. Steel Dragon 2000 has been okay. It's gotten some surprising wins and some surprising losses so far. So what do we think of Steel Dragon 2000 versus Surgical Glory? Judge is going to have their work cut out for them. Fight of the Week material for sure. Wow. Speaking of Fight of the Week, every week we produce a highlights video from the stream, so you don't have to watch 2.5 hours of Robot Rampage. We're letting everybody vote on who what the Fight of the Week is every week. So the Robot Rampage Twitter account at Robot Rampage is going to put up a poll, and you can vote in there, or you can vote in the discussion channel in the Discord server for Fight of the Week. So let's get Surgical Glory and Steel Dragon 2000 going. Most people going with... Actually, it's kind of split between the both of them. What was that thump? I dropped my pen. I do it a lot because I won't stop playing with it. Ooh, some big hits by Surgical Glory. He's knocked a wheel off of Steel Dragon 2000. Now, this is good and bad, because Steel Dragon 2000 having limited mobility might mean that Surgical Glory's AI just sits in place and doesn't move and gets itself counted out. It's ripping this front end of Steel Dragon 2000 apart, though. I think there's only one weapon left on the front end of Steel Dragon 2000. It's already lost a wheel. It's lost some of its defensive spikes. It's going to lose the other wheel in a second here if it's not careful. Oh, no! Surgical Glory is getting counted out. So, the sit and spin AI is very dumb, but it's also very powerful. And it will win most matches that it's in, unless this happens, where the AI starts to get counted out and then just doesn't move. It just keeps spinning in place. So, the way that we balance that between the AI being extremely good and very dumb is we consider this to be a TKO in favor of Steel Dragon, as if there was a radio issue. So, that is a TKO win for Steel Dragon 2000. I just need a time on that one, Burnout. Steel Dragon 2000 didn't look like it had a chance. It didn't, but, you know, if the AI going to be dumb like that? Now, if Steel Dragon 2000 had lost its other wheel and been completely immobilized, we would have considered Steel Dragon 2000 to be out of that, but Them's the breaks. So, in the super heavyweights, we have White Hot, overhead spinner with a ton of defensive spikes and features, versus Hyagini, which is a rammer with a ton of spikes on the front. What do we predict? White Hot versus Hyagini. I think this is going to be a pretty... this is going to be a pretty destructive match, a high point scoring match. Or high point scoring fight. Keeps calling fights matches and matches fights. Everybody going with Hyagini. Alright, let's see what happens. Keep bringing up the Mouser Mecha Catbot song to get a reaction out of me. So Hyagini with the drive power is going to put White Hot back into the grinder. The one place it doesn't really have a whole lot of defensive features is that rear panel. The overhead spinner is too high to get purchase on Hyagini. Hyagini is losing spikes on the front, as is White Hot. Ooh, but that big hit into the grinder, that's what's going to win Hyagini the match, which it just drove up and almost flipped over off a piece of debris. Oh, White Hot pushing Hyagini into the grinder, and it's lost a wheel off the back end now. So White Hot's lost most of its spikes on the front. Hyagini still has some. And Hyagini still has that pushing power and getting White Hot into those grinders. Ooh, White Hot had trouble with the debris this time. Hyagini's not driving entirely in a straight line because of those that wheel missing on the left side. Everything off the front end of White Hot is missing now. And is taking considerable chassis damage to the front end. But Hyagini down to just a few spikes left on the front as well. And losing more as time goes on. White Hot still with those defensive swords along the side. Oh, did Hyagini lose all of its weapons now? I think it did. It's just got the kind of spikes that stick out to the side for defense, and now it fits with those three wheels fit perfectly between the swords for White Hot. Looks like a scrapyard now. Yeah, there's debris everywhere in this arena. White Hot is just going to keep Hyagini trapped between its wheel guards here. There doesn't seem to be anything Hyagini can do about it. What is this fight turning into? Oh, what a fight this is turning into. Yeah, it's turned into, as the chat likes to say, a microwave. Oh, Hyagini's able to break free. And it's going to push White Hot around some more. Try and get it over to the grinder. White Hot going after those wheels once again. Big charge from Hyagini. Only 14 seconds left. I don't think there's enough time for either robot to really do much to swing the fight in their favor here. And with one last shove, that is the end of the fight. Another judge's decision. Oh my goodness, look at the damage totals. That is without a doubt the most damaging, highest scoring fight we have had in the entire league so far. Hyagini, the gladiator of Robot Rampage League. Yeah, I love the really fast, aggressive rammers, but man, that was something for a fight. Well, that's two judges' decisions in that match, so we have no idea who's going to win it. It's Kinetic Creatures has 4 points. C-Team, they might have 2 points. So Kinetic has probably won this fight, or this match. Over the C-Team, which started out the league as one of the top teams. But we've got 2 matches remaining. We're going to move on to Team 9, which is Team Eeveeon. And they are facing Valley View Robotics Club. So, Eeveeon has Kurbnalab, which is an overhead vertical spinner, but it spins downwards. It traps the other robot against its wedge. Valley View has Overvolter, which is one of the more powerful axes in the lightweight category. It's been doing very well. Predictions, please. Can you sing the BattleBots promo song? Which promo? The BattleBots has had a lot of promos. 8th judge's decision this week, tied for the most in a single week. We might have more than 8 because we've got 2 matches here to go through. Lots of people going for Overvolter. Neither of these robots are invertible. And Overvolter is on its front. It's on its back, and Kurbnalab is digging at its belly now. That was not the way that I saw that collision going, but it's how it turned out. You can see the design of Kurbnalab is just digging into the bottom plate of Overvolter and trapping it against that wedge. This has been an unpredictable week. Yes, it has been a very unpredictable week so far. Oh, but this qualifies as a pin. Or does it? Burnout, does this qualify as a pin because Overvolter is not able to self-right? Overvolter cannot self-right. Yeah, I don't think that should qualify as a pin then. But it was basically a pin. What do we think? Waiting to see what Burnout says, because he's the guy that runs the tournament with me. Lots of the chat thinks it's a pin. I'm leaning towards not a pin, because chat agrees it's a pin. I'm going to restart it, because I do agree that it was being held in place. It wasn't a pin like it was just sitting next to the robot. It was like literally clamped down on the robot. So I'm going to consider that to be a pin and restart. Oh, this time Overvolter gets Kurbnalab upside down. Kurbnalab's going to try and move around the little bit that it can. And Overvolter's just going to pound away at it. And KO the crap out of it. That's what you get for pinning it. Curse of the restart strikes again, yeah. I mean, that's how it goes. Any other set of robots, that probably would have been called a pin. So I'm safe considering that a pin. Okay, up next in the middleweights, we have Spinning Cage of Death for Team Eeveeon, which is a 360-degree spinner. Galactic Fabrication for Valley View Robotics Club. It's a rear-hinged flipper. Galactic Fabrication is known for throwing away fights that it had clearly won, so we'll see what happens here. Spinning Cage of Death, being 360-degree spinner, is not invertible, though. People a little bit back and forth between Spinning Cage of Death and Galactic Fabrication, but they're The ones that are that are saying Galactic Fabrication are being like it, but it might throw the fight. So we're gonna see. Well, there's a good toss, and it's gotten Spinning Cage of Death on its side. And it kind of just needs to leave it alone, and it should be able to get a TKO, but we know that's not what Galactic Fabrication does. Oh, I think it broke the count. It moved just enough to break the count. Galactic Fabrication going to toss it some more. It did get Spinning Cage of Death back on its wheels, but it wasn't able to really do anything before it got flipped over again. Oh, but it broke one of the flipping arms off now. So Galactic Fabrication needs to get it over and leave it over. Otherwise, this fight might turn in favor of Spinning Cage of Death if that other flipping arm comes off, which it does. So now Galactic Fabrication is just a wedge, and it needs to leave Spinning Cage of Death alone. Trying to throw it into the grinder. It's going to knock itself over if it's not careful. There you go. Get it totally upside down instead of... No, it's going to put it on the grinder again. A wheel off of Spinning... Both wheels off of Spinning Cage of Death. So Spinning Cage of Death is totally immobilized now. It's just a matter of if Galactic Fabrication chooses to try to get a 3-point knockout or not. Which is what it's trying to do. Trying to get Spinning Cage of Death into the grinder and get those control board hits. Oh, but it got the hit with the side spikes that protect the wheel. So Galactic Fabrication with a KO. What was the time on that burnout? That is 6 points for Valley View. So Eeveeon needs to come back and get some knockouts here if they want to tie this match back up. Valley View. So heavyweight time. We have Spike 6 for Eeveeon. Double front hinged flipper, similar to Overvolter but heavier. Or not Overvolter, Overthrown. Valley View has Cinnamon, which is a spiked scoop rammer, similar to Spearmint. Cinnamon is not invertible, and it's lost fights by knocking itself over, and Spike 6 is a flipper. What does the chat think is going to happen? Yeah, Spike 6 has been doing so poorly that they're still predicting Cinnamon to win, which I don't disagree with necessarily. Let's see what happens when we get this fight going. Cinnamon having trouble with the floor. Spike 6 has tossed it in the air. But Cinnamon neutralizing the wedge into a stalemate now. And Cinnamon with the wedge being lower. Oh, but Spike 6 has got it up in the air now. But it's attacking those spikes on the front rather than the chassis. Which it's got to be careful of or it's going to lose its flipping arms. It's got Cinnamon up on its side now. And Cinnamon's trying to get whatever movement it can with its one wheel on the floor. But Spike 6 going to attack it some more, but it lost both of its flipping arms, which is what I was afraid of was going to happen. And so now Cinnamon just needs to stay upright, which it's struggling to do at the moment. Oh, but it got a great scoop on Spike 6, who managed to steer out of it. Both of them just kind of strategically trying to outmaneuver each other at the moment. Spike 6 tried to bait him in with the wheel, but it kind of didn't work out for them. Spike 6 does still have all of those spikes along its sides and wheel protection, so it's probably not at huge risk of losing a wheel, but it did manage to knock a wheel off of Cinnamon somehow. And then it backed itself into the grinder because it's not driven as well as it should be. Unless Cinnamon manages to get knocked over, I think this one might end up going to the judges. There's only about a minute left. Lots of maneuvering in this one. Yeah, this is a pretty tactical fight at the moment, if you guys understand the reference. Oh, here we go. That was a good scoop by Cinnamon, who's not able to drive in a straight line anymore. When people say they want wedges back in BattleBots, this is the kind of fighting that they want. They want wedges that just maneuver around each other and do this. Spike 6 got Cinnamon into the grinder briefly. "15 seconds until yet another judge's decision." And there we have it. I might not even have enough space on the cards next week to display all these judges' decisions. Give the judges overtime pay. They're going to need it, man. You're going to need to take a whole day off of work just to review all these fights. Well then. Super heavyweight time. We have Blood Eagle for Team Eeveeon, which is a battering rammer with a bunch of side protection, and Chemical X for Valley View Robotics Club with 4 side-hinged fire axes. Chemical X also has a little bit of spike protection in the front. I don't know how this one's going to go. I think both of them are invertible. The match has already been won by Valley View, however, because Eeveeon cannot catch up in point total. So this is just for more points. Chemical X to go over the battering ram and snipe wheels. That's a bold prediction. People a little bit split on this one, calling Chemical X the Falcon Killer. It is, which that's the next match is with the Mantines. So let's see what happens here. Chemical X trying to bring its axes in from the sides, but it's just hitting that huge battering ram that Blood Eagle has. Two of the axes, the lower axes, have come off. Actually, no, it's one from the lower axes and one from the top. Just a single axe remaining now, actually. From Blood Eagle's battering ram just knocking the axes away. There goes the last one. Ooh! Blood Eagle almost got Chemical X onto the wall, and it's parked it on its front end. Wow. Please leave it alone, Blood Eagle. This would be an amazing way to end a match. Or, yeah, end a match and a fight. Yes! Chemical X, it does the thing. How about that? 51 seconds. That is an impressive way to end a fight. Like we were mentioned, things have been very unpredictable so far, and this is just one of the examples of that. Like, was Blood Eagle probably going to beat Chemical X? Yeah, probably, but we didn't expect it to be like that. Man. All right. One match remaining. And that is the Moscow Mantines against the #1 team in the league, Sinister Creations. So, our first fight in the lightweights, our last lightweight fight, it is Hailstorm 4, a front-hinged flipper, against Overheat, also a front-hinged flipper. What do we predict for this one? Hailstorm's got slightly smaller wheels. Overheat, I think, can self-ride a little bit easier. It's a pretty close, pretty evenly matched fight between these two. Looks like the chat is kind of split, so let's just see how this one goes. But Burnout's calling another judge's decision. We will find out which one's got the better wedge, and the answer is neither of them. I see why you're predicting another judge's decision. Possibly the audience loses in this one. So far that's how it's looking. Welcome to Classic BattleBots, everybody. This is what every single fight was like. Although Hailstorm has gotten backed into the corner, but it's steering itself away, and now Overheat is the one at risk for the grinder. Content, yes. This is going to be match of the week right here. This is the closest match of the whole stream. And they're moving just enough to not get counted out by the game, it looks like. Riveted to my seat. That sounds painful, to be riveted to a seat. This is why BB's television round started at the end of the tournament. Pretty much. This is so interesting, 1 million views. Oh, hold up. Hailstorm went up the wedge and got flipped over by Overheat, but Overheat is stuck on top of it. Hailstorm's trying to right itself. It's going to end up on top of Overheat. And Overheat's going to throw it at the wall. And so now Hailstorm is stuck on its nose on the wall. It's going to try and self-right again. And Overheat's going to pin it in place so it cannot do so. Now, Overheat is not holding it in place. It's waiting for Hailstorm to right itself. But Hailstorm cannot do so. That is a TKO. Yeah, it's 99 seconds. Everybody's saying pin. Overheat was backing away from Hailstorm and letting Hailstorm try to self-right, and Hailstorm couldn't. So, that is an official TKO. Is that a pin? Was not trying to self-right, but Overheat did back up. They weren't touching. It was not impeding it. So, middleweight time, we have OMG, it's Dollar Store Razor for the Mantines. Overhead poking, crushing type weapon, and a rear hinge flipper underneath it. Sinister Creations has Cycloid, which is 2 Warpick style axes hinged from the sides. What do we predict for this one? Cycloid does have that overhead protection as well. Why are the Mantines bots the most controversial? Because they're from Moscow. We can't allow the Russian hackers in here. Cycloid to violate the gentleman's agreement. I agree. I think that's what's going to happen. Well, let's get this final middleweight match of the stream underway. Cycloid going straight up Razor's wedge and just cleaving the claw right off the top. Razor still has that rear hinged flipper to get into play. which it is doing a little bit of damage to Cycloid's underbelly with, but Cycloid's axes are not making contact with Razor's chassis. And Razor's lopped one of the axes right off now, so Razor is fighting back. Cycloid actually having difficulty here now that now that it's stuck on Razor's wedge, but it's going after one of Razor's wheels now. Got that right front wheel that Cycloid's aiming for. And now it's right back up OMG Dollar Store Razor's wedge. And look at the smoke coming out of Cycloid now. And the other axe is gone. Razor has de-weaponed Cycloid, one of the best middleweights. I think it's the most destructive middleweight in the league. And Razor has totally de-weaponed it, and it's pushing it over towards the grinder now. And Razor just shut down. Okay, it's moving again. It's gotten Cycloid to flip itself over, trying to drive against the wall. There's a chance Cycloid might end up in the grinder here if it's not careful. It's going to push back against Razor. Wow, I did not expect this fight to go this way. But Razor is still doing damage to Cycloid. Cycloid's got those 2 spikes on the front to try and damage Razor with, but it just keeps going straight up the wedge. Dollar Store Razor with the Dollar Store wedge is absolutely beating the most destructive middleweight in the league right now. Cycloid trying to push Razor into the corner. There's another control board hit from Razor. Just going to hold Cycloid in the air. This is like that holding somebody at bay with your hand so that they can't punch you. Oh, he's pinning it. Don't do that. No, Razor, back up. That was a pin. That needs to be restarted. Why would you do this to us, Razor? Why? You had that. So the fight starts similarly with Cycloid lopping off Razor's overhead claw. Razor's already lopped off one of the axes. And it's getting that rear hinge flipping arm into the underbelly of Cycloid. And it's lopped the other axe off again. So once again, Razor de-weaponing the most destructive middleweight in the league and tossing it around. And doing considerable damage to its chassis with it as well. And Cycloid's got nothing for Razor's wedge. Oh, but it broke it off. It broke it off with the spikes on the front. So now Razor does not have the weapon power to KO it. It's going to have to utilize the hazards. And that big old razor wedge on the front. We're just over a minute into this fight, and both of these robots are really battered. Razor trying to get Cycloid over to the grinder, and Cycloid trying to spin out of it. That little prick does more damage than its beak. Yeah, pretty much. Then again, it was getting it into exactly the right place. Cycloid's still able to do a little bit of damage with those ramming spikes, but it looks like it's maybe running low on drive power or battery power. I know that Cycloid's got a lot of damage to that right side drive motor because there's smoke pouring out of it. "45 seconds to go, and Razor is just wedging Cycloid at the moment. Very riveting. Yes, it is. A Cycloid inverted, so Razor's going to be running into those armor plates now. Still neither one able to really get an advantage over the other here. And it looks like we are going to have yet another judge's decision here. Well then, have we traveled back in time to Robot Wars Series 1? Quite possibly. Watching two robots that can barely move just bumping into each other, and the only difference is that I'm not like calling the match as if like it's the most incredible thing that I've ever seen. Because I am not Jonathan Pierce. I also cannot alliterate, which should be pretty obvious. So heavyweight time. Tougher than nails with the 4 side hammers that kind of crush in, and Omnipresence for Sinister Creations, which is a sit and spin flail thwackbot. The Razor ability factor. Just survived Cycloid. I mean, he's not wrong. Razor survived the most destructive middleweight by a wide margin, the most destructive middleweight. That's impressive. And he could have just taken a judge's decision win, too. So Omnipresence with those flails is trying to get him to the side of Tougher Than Nails to get that wheel. It's lopping off hammers at the moment. It's going to need to move soon, or it's going to start getting counted out. It's gotten all the hammers and a wheel. And now it's getting counted out. God damn it, Sit and Spin AI. Why must you be this way? Well, that's a 2-point win for the Mantines. But at least it wasn't, you know, a 3-minute match that we had to restart and go another 3 minutes on, so. And finally, we head to the Super Heavyweights, the last fight of the stream. We have... Wait, do I have that in the right order? I do not. So we have Falcon Punch, another sit and spin AI, and Rabid Fox, which is 4 vertical spinners. Falcon Punch, I think, is 6-1. It just lost its first fight last week. So, what are the predictions? Falcon Punch has the bitch slap ability factor. Not wrong. We'll see if the AI cooperates with the sit and spin this time. Lots of people leaning in favor of... Oh, it's 5-2. It's not 6-1. Lots of people leaning in favor of Falcon Punch on this one. We'll see. Rabid Fox does tend to fall over. And it has fallen over. And trapped itself against the wall. And literally all Falcon Punch needs to do is leave it alone. Good job, Falcon Punch. It literally just stiff-armed Rabid Fox into oblivion. And that's a 28-second TKO. So, you guys aren't going to believe this, The Moscow Mantines have beaten the #1 Sinister creations. Because Moscow has 2 TKOs, that's 4 points. Sinister got a TKO in the lightweights, but a judge's decision awaits in the middleweights. Sinister can only have 3 points out of this, so Moscow has won. The Moscow Mantines beat the #1 team in the league. That is what has just happened there. So, that was an interesting stream. We have had so many judges' decisions. Not a whole lot of restarts, which is good, but so many freaking judges' decisions. This is going to take a while. Normally, I am able to get the results from the judges after a day or two. This might take a while, because it's a lot of decisions to go through. But yeah, that's how things go. A lot of interesting matchups. A lot of fights did not go the way that we expected them to go. That's part of the reason why we have the rules the way that we do, requiring different weapon types, is you just never know how the types are going to match up. 10 judges' decisions, 10 fights with glitches, Burnout says. Okay. Well, that is it for this week on the Robot Rampage League. Check out the Discord server that we have. The link is in the description. You can chat about the league there. You can also show off robots that you're building for next season there. We don't have an official rule set yet, so nothing's final, but you can talk about the league there. We also have Robot Rampage League on Twitter at Robot Rampage. You can find information, you can find the results, you can find the schedules and such there. We're also going to have the poll for what you thought the fight of the week was, so make sure you tell us what you think the fight of the week was for this week. Yeah, I thought this was a pretty good stream. I quite enjoyed it. There's a lot of nonsense. It took a little longer than normal, but I mean, it was fun. It was interactive. A lot of nonsense happened. So thank you, everybody, for being part of the stream this week. Everybody kind of agreeing that this was fun. Yes, we will see you next week for week 9 of the Robot Rampage League, and I will leave you guys with that fight schedule.